Okay, so I know that you were the executive director of Winter, which LADP has been involved with as a partner, but you're this new equity lab. I'm not really sure what that organization is, what it involves.
It's a nonprofit organization that helps organizations create plans and establish the strategies to achieve equity, and they're either nonprofits or for-profit companies.
And is that is it your are you the I mean, are there other staff, or are you it, or how,
I'm
what's
I'm
this?
the co-founder. We have I work for I work for women in non-traditional employment roles for 21 years, and I recently resigned and move on. It's time for new people to take care of the agency. I created and the infrastructure for them. I created the curriculum for them. I did everything to leave them in a good position, and now resign, and I'm doing something different. Is working with more nonprofits and more companies to create gender equity, and also creating infrastructure for nonprofits so they can be successful providing the services that they need to provide to the community.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't quite clear how that where is you have is there a central office there that you work in, or?
Yeah, we're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, this was a really great presentation. And if you guys didn't catch this, Alexandra offered 10 to 12 different strategies for us in these four pillars. They're just, these are things that we can point to, like our four pillars, to help us advance our work. There are some of us who may already be in that space, and others who don't know how to get started or are challenged because we're starting at the very beginning. Alexandra, what would be your best bit of advice for us in each of the four categories? And if we start with awareness, what would be the number one thing that you would take from the awareness category to help us make sure that women know that these jobs exist, that they're good jobs, and that I can tell you from my own experience. I grew up in a construction household. My mom was a single mom, and learning how to build something myself, learning how to take control of my life. Really, I didn't have to wait for a handyman to come and screw in, whatever, a door. My house I bought, it was super cheap. It was a fixer-upper, and I've done everything there. And it's a real sense of empowerment. And I'm not sure we're really getting that through to young women who may or may not be interested in these jobs. What would you recommend for us to break through?
For awareness, I gave you a lot of strategies to do, but I think for me, one of the things that I emphasize is that everything that comes out of your programs, every marketing material that comes out of your program needs to have the face of women workers. We already know men do those jobs, so we don't need to put a picture of a man doing it. Everything that comes, even if it's not going to be targeting inclusively to women, but every marketing material that you have, every billboard, every pamphlet, every flyer should have pictures of women working, and not women with makeup on or hair, beautiful hair flowing down. It's just workers. Go see them. They don't have their makeup on. They can. Go take pictures of them when they're working in the field, and plaster that in all of your marketing materials. I think for awareness, that will be number one, because women don't see themselves doing those type of works. So we need to really show them that are women already working there, even if it's one or two. There's women working there, and that they're successful, and they can follow that path.
Yeah, and I think what's challenging for us is looking at that number, right? We've got 96% of our workforce are men. Where are we getting these photos? It's an excellent tip. So I'm wondering, from this group, do you have women in these non-traditional roles where you'd be willing for us to come out and maybe take photos and share their stories? I think that was one of your tips as well. Share their stories, highlight their successes, maybe interview them. and find out, how did you get in this role? And would you be willing to talk to other young people who may consider this as a career? What is your organization look like? Do we have photo opportunities?
It is hard to get people into, I only work with union contractors, and it's hard to get photographers to go in there. But once in a while, I can convince people to let us take pictures, or the women will send me pictures. So I can ask our women that I work with if they're willing to send us pictures. And I have some magnificent pictures of women that send me in the top of a building, you know. So I
Yeah,
can ask for their permission, and we'll sign a release, a media release, and hopefully you can compensate them a little bit, or so they can lend you those pictures, because they're pretty amazing pictures.
yes, yes, I can imagine. And for everyone in this group, we are willing to set up some time with a professional photographer to go out to your places of work and help you highlight the stories of women in these fields. I think it's critical to all of us. And I love hosting these meetings. I love putting together promotional materials, but I am at the end of my stock photos, guys.
Yeah, stock photos are not good.
That's all I got. You know, there are a couple of people who I see their photos on, like, I think there are two women that I know of that have photos online in the world. So if you have those opportunities, please contact me and let's set something up to help,
Will
you know,
do.
tell those stories. Yeah.
Will do.
Um, what is your top tip then when we're looking at partnerships?
I think partnerships, if you want to really change the way you do things, or you see the need for that, I think that partnerships are important to call them in early, take their input on what, if you're looking at improving gender equity, call your partners in and talk honestly with them, and talk to them about, how do we change this? How do we not including 50% of the population in Los Angeles or in California? We're 51% women, and we have what, 10% maybe. So
Yeah.
we need to change that. So how do we going to change that? Again, collaborations are very important to address gender equity, because we don't do this alone. We need our partners, we need our stakeholders, we need, from the subcontractors to the contractors to the unions that you're working with, everyone needs to come together and say, okay, how are we going to do this? Because every collaboration is different. There's no one way of doing it. So whatever works with the whole group is what is going to be important. And but call them in early. Don't start a project and then call them in the middle of the project. So, oh, well, we haven't been able to hire anyone that is, we haven't meeting our number. We're not meeting our numbers of gender equity. And then you call them in the middle of the project. You start from the very beginning, I always say, you need to attend meetings from the project starts, with the architects. You need to be present there,
Yeah.
not just when the project is already approved and all of that. So approval meetings, call meetings, which are the meetings where you present the project and all of the unions are there and they say, I'll take this part, I'll take that part. The whole steps, you need to be present in all of those meetings for those projects.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. And you know, we have a really unique opportunity. You know, we've just really started amping up our workforce efforts, right? Because we had never had to do this before. You know, for 50 years, we've had people who are very happy in these jobs and who stay. Recruitment is not something we're familiar with and that we're learning how to do. So we've got a really unique opportunity at the bottom rung, right? To not only recruit, but be very intentional about who we're recruiting and how. And that doesn't mean excluding one group or the other. It means putting out marketing materials or investing in learning sessions that target specific groups who would say, I belong here. Right? When we
Right.
do kind of those blanket marketing campaigns, those of us who are in communications, there's a time and a place for that, but there's also a time and a place to make sure that everybody that we want to join us sees themselves there, as Alexandra said, and that includes very specific targeted marketing. It doesn't mean that's the only marketing we do. It just means that we identify those groups and really get to know them. Do we, if only 4% of our workforce are women, do we really know why they're there? Do we really know what motivated them to join our workforce? And to her point about partnerships, are we tapping into all of the partner groups that we know of? Like, partnerships are not easy. They're going to take some time and effort to work. They just do. But maybe there are some groups like Women in Water. I know that there are a couple of Women in Water organizations that are out there. I know Aqua's got some Women in Water workforce groups, and I'm sure they have the same in energy. Are we reaching out to those groups and seeing if they can help us recruit, or if they have some strategies that they use to recruit people to their cause? I think that's a great point, just making sure we're being very intentional with our partnerships. And for diversity, what is your number one tip for us to ensure that we have a diverse workforce and we're recruiting in an intentional manner?
Well, we're talking about targeted recruitment. You can't, it is important that you go to those communities to recruit. Very intentional, not just like, I remember we were talking and I said, I hate when I see an announcement that says women and people of color encouraged to apply. I would say that if I see that, I don't want to apply because what does this mean?
Yeah.
So we really need to be very intentional and going to the community that we want to target. We can't just put a blanket, like you were saying, marketing materials. We have to go to those communities. We have to connect with those communities. There are nonprofits that work there. There are public officials that work there. Connect with those people. They can be your partners to recruit people from that community. So it has to be very intentional and targeted.
Yeah, I think that is another great point. We talk about recruiting or recruiting from disadvantaged communities, or putting an emphasis, or making sure we're being intentional. I'm curious again from this group. So if you have something to share, please raise your hand. What are you doing to actually meet with those partner groups in these disadvantaged communities to help us advance our cause? Is anyone doing anything specific for disadvantaged communities or intentional marketing to women? Which is fine. Nobody's on the spot here. Again, we're new to this. We're learning how to do this properly. But it's the point of some of these meetings is to make sure that we're thinking about it, right? We clearly are here, so we're investing in workforce. But what are some strategies we can employ now at this point, now that we've been meeting for a couple of years and we've established a community? What can we do to be a little more intentional in some places where we need to have a little boost?
Benita had her hand up.
Benita.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, Tiffany, I had my hand up before your question, so I apologize. I'm not answering your question. I have a question for Alexandra, please.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your presentation, and I wish you much success with this next chapter of your career. I stepped away for a second during your presentation. I had to take a call, so you may have covered this, but do you provide support services for the women as they're entering a profession where the culture is still trying to adjust to this much needed, of welcoming women into non-traditional roles, but it's an adjustment for everyone, for the women, for the people that have been there. So do you have resources, support services, counseling, just things so that the women don't get discouraged and can kind of just stay on the path? Is my question clear?
Yes. So my recommendation to agencies that provide workforce development and pre-apprenticeship training is that they have a case management component, not only training, but a case management component to provide women with case management, but also to address any barriers to employment, because spending money and training, and there's a lot of money in training that is coming out, especially now, is important, but it really doesn't matter if women are not prepared to go to work. So providing case management and providing mentorship to them as they first, when they're in the program, and then when they're placed, we need to connect them with mentors. I was talking about how important it is to connect them with people who are doing the same type of work that they're doing. So other trace women, provide training to trace women to provide mentorship to them. So it is important to do that, and then to continue providing support services, mentorship until they become journeymen, because things happen when you're an apprentice. You're not making as much money as a journeyman. So we need to continue to provide services to them. That's my recommendations to agencies that provide training. It's not this is a semester of training or 3 years of training and then bye-bye, because that's how they fail. Most programs, they send those people out and then within 3 months, they drop out of their jobs. So we really need to continue to provide support, mentorship, and case management to them so they can be successful.
Thank you.
Olivia.
Hey, Tiffany. Hey, all. Olivia Sanchez, Metropolitan Water District. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hello.
Good to see you. So I guess answering your question, Tiffany, around, what are we doing in communities that we may see underrepresentation in the workforce programs that we're looking at. I've done a lot of work on this for Metropolitan in various capacities in the building construction trades as well as others. What I find is when you go to these communities, and I'm a product of that community, so I probably can relate, is they don't know what they don't know. So you have to help them learn what they don't know, because this is not something their parents necessarily can help and teach them. This is not something, and sometimes they can, but not oftentimes. So you have to be a part of that community. You have to be seen as a part of that community. I recently, last week, I've been working with some high schools around career pathways. They know Metropolitan is committed to their career pathways program. They know that they have a person that they connect with. I was able to bring resources to them and exposure to them that they otherwise wouldn't have, because they didn't know where to go to get that. And I think that's, as industry, I think that's part of our role and responsibility, is to connect, because it really needs to be. I was at a youth build competition last week with the Carpenters Union. And one of the particular high schools I work with, and the reason I work with them so closely, is they have their career pathway program in the high school, but they actually link it to their middle school. And so I had the middle school there competing, and they weren't viable, but they were there to get exposure and experience, to learn what they didn't know. And then you have the high school competing, right? And then I use that as an opportunity to pull in construction contractors that would be looking for potential apprentices to sponsor into a building trades, and you're bringing them there. So I think the answer for me to your question is, we have to help these communities learn what they don't know, because they don't know, and they don't know where to look. They don't even know an opportunity exists. And so it's our job to make sure to let them know about that, and really investing, being the partner rather than, what can we do to support your efforts? That's what industry's job is all about. I think, and a big part of what we need to do. So thanks for the ability to comment.
Yeah, Olivia, thank you for your comment. I think you've made a great point. And then to that point, big thanks to Metropolitan, who has an investment in workforce, in equity, in diversity, inclusion. You have led the way for this. I do feel like there are a lot of agencies whose leadership is not there. I'm not sure why that is. I see some head nods, so I hope I don't get in trouble for this. But I'm also very curious about how we get leadership to stand up and take notice, and to say this is a priority, so that we can put people like Olivia in the communities that they serve, doing the great work that she knows how to do best. because this matters. You know, we're going to be put in a pretty sticky situation soon. Walter.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I just had a question sort of going the other way, following up on Benita's question. She mentioned the word culture. So I'm just thinking more about within the hiring organization in the skill craft units, I guess you'd say. Because you mentioned something about the training doesn't do it. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not really directly involved. I'm only involved, I do, more K-12. So I don't really involve with the recruitment per se, but I'm just wondering what kind of programs, I don't know, it's training or something like that in terms of changing the culture within an organization, especially in the areas that are with the skill craft staff. How does, what's your experience with that, or as to sort of move the culture along, let's say within the ranks in the skill craft? How do you address that exactly? I don't know if I'm very clear, but that's.
Yeah, I think Walter, it's certainly challenging. I know that we have, I'm just thinking off the cuff. So Alexandra, or if anybody else has anything else to add, obviously, but we offer internships. We just promoted a teacher externship at the top of the hour. We have tours where we offer young students or community colleges entrance to our world. One thing I really liked, Alexandra, was those hands-on activities. And I liked the sharing the tools that they might be working with, because I think until you're physically engaged in that activity, it's still just words. So, maybe one of those things that we could do is when we're offering a tour of one of our treatment plants, and we've actually done this with Girl Scouts, and it was very successful, although I don't think we knew we were doing it at the time. But thinking back, and we had the girls at one of our facilities, push buttons and know what that looked like. And that was a big thrill for them, because that's not something, one, that they'll ever probably get to do again unless they're in these jobs. But also, they're not invited to touch machinery usually. And these are little girls. These are, youngsters. So that might be one thing that we do using that strategy, offering them an opportunity to engage with some of the tools and some of the equipment that they'd be working with if they choose to come to us and join our workforce.
So to answer your question too, Walter, I think ensuring that everybody offers diversity and inclusion training programs for employees at all levels, not only for the skill craft, but providing diversity training for them is important. This includes raising awareness about unconscious bias and promoting culture of respect and inclusion with all of the staff that works there. That will changing the culture of and the trades.
Yeah, and maybe having our big guys, LADWP, Metropolitan, help us pave the way. And if you have leadership that is committed to this, I know as a Metropolitan member agency, we look to Met a lot to say, what is Met doing? Or if we want to introduce something new, or we want to illuminate something that you are doing because we have interest in doing the same, like, having those leaders talk to our leaders and making that important might be another option. Kathy.
Good morning, Tiffany, everybody else. So for those who don't know me, I oversee the water education program at DWR. And we really focus on K-12 students. And our education is kind of separate from our workforce development, although we're working on addressing that But in answer to your question about what are we doing, one of the things that we initiated back in 2019 and that we restarted last year is going into a community in the Delta, into Rio Vista. And we're trying to do a 3-year sequence with their middle school students, where we have our scientists come in and both teach about, some of the content, science content, but really try and inspire them and interest them and encourage them to see themselves as having a career in sciences. And I just wanted to, we just finished this up. It's exciting because we do at least see some short-term increases in, we're doing pre and post surveys. We are seeing at least short-term increases in interest in science careers with the students. But the issue of representation is so important. One of our scientists who went in with us this year grew up in that community and was in those same classrooms as some of the students, which they really responded well to. We're talking about gender, but one of our scientists, when we were talking about what were some of the biggest struggles, she mentioned that she had dyslexia and dyscalculia. And this one girl who had been, just kind of talking with her friend for most of the class, just turned around, her head, you could see her head swivel and her eyes get big, like, oh, I can do this. So I just wanted to, kind of share that as, this is something DWR is doing. We're only able to go into, 6 classes, the staffing issue, the time commitment for this is huge. We've had requests from other schools, we've had requests from other departments to partner with them and bring it in there. And, if we're open to doing that, it may not happen until the budget gets fixed, but, it's just being proactive. We take, I think it may have been during your presentation, you mentioned, taking in the tools and letting them get hands-on. We completely revamped one of our activities this year, so they could do that. They could see the tools and the interest level, and the response was so much better. So a lot of the things you talked about, we're trying to implement, not as fast, not as broadly as we'd like, but they are working.
Thank you, Kathy. And every step forward is a step in the right direction, even if it's, it doesn't matter how big it is. And I think, this community is a great example of that. It's taken a while to get to the point where we are, but it was just one step and one step and one step, and we're just learning together.
Yeah, we initially rolled it out in February of 2020, so we all know what happened then.
Yeah. Olivia.
I was just thinking, I know we've talked about this in the past in prior meetings, but what I think we need to do to kind of assist each other is so like if I'm out at Cajon High School working with their program, I should be able to connect with whoever is local to that area, the smaller agencies, and bring them with and introduce. And I don't think we're good at doing that yet. And I think we need to get better. And I realized I actually thought about this a couple of weeks ago, and I said, oh, I really should get the member agency that's out here involved with them as well, and we can work jointly. But I don't always know who the proper contact is for those agencies. So if there's a way that we can, because it's the synergy we need, right? Because I can't hire or can't fix everybody, but if I have others that are interested, and I think that's what we're not doing well as a community yet, is pooling our resources together so that we're helping each other with the efforts that are being undertaken. And we don't all have to recreate the wheel. We can just jump on the same wheel and all push it forward together.
Yeah,
here. That makes sense.
Oh, it really does. And I think even over the last several years, we've come a long way because we've had to break down some of our own barriers, our barriers to keeping things to ourselves or creating things that we have ownership of. And then the next guy has to recreate it. And the next guy I think we've come a long way. Benita, you've got a list of water education folks for the member agencies. That might be one place to start.
Yes, and thank you, Tiffany. And Olivia, also, I could probably help you in getting like the access to the list of conservation reps. I'm not sure if you were looking specifically for HR personnel, but we do have some databases that maybe they could connect you with the right person. But I agree.
Yeah, I think it has to be the workforce development folks, right? For me anyway, that's what it has to be, because it's the workforce development piece that is what we're trying to move move forward, right? And so I always think it's strange that sometimes we have a really great, you've all done a recruitment and you have like 5 really great candidates, but I only have 1 position. How can I fill these candidates? Before, when I used to work at a different public agency, we actually had an agreement with some other, I worked for a public agency and some other private companies. We were all looking for the same type of person. And it was really around veterans. And we had set up an MOU that if we had a recruitment for something and we had people that we would hire, but we could hire, but only could hire 1, and let's say we had 4 other great candidates, we would take those resumes and float them around to the other organizations so that they can, and it was very successful, and we all felt like it was a true partnership. So I'm wondering if some of that kind of stuff we need to do that. Just a thought, not sure kind of exactly what it would look like, but just an inkling of maybe we need to have something more concrete than just than talking about it. We need to do something around it.
Yep, I love it.
Just Tiffany, you hear me?
Yeah.
So
Walter.
I'm looking on the list here, and our DWP recruitment manager, Jennifer Shar, who made a point to be here to see Alexandra. So Jennifer, thank you for joining. I know she had another meeting. But in Olivia's behalf, I mean, I think it makes sense. We always, historically, and I've been at Water and Power literally 46 years, and historically, we've always liked partnering with organizations, and we have, of course, a very close relationship, as Benita knows, with MWD. We work together for, I mean, Mulholland was involved with both organizations. We go back, almost centuries. But anyway, so Jennifer's on, and I thought that maybe Olivia and Jennifer might put their heads together if Olivia's working in any of the area within LA City, because we know that we're a big member, whatever. We always like partnering. And I know that Jennifer is working with community colleges outside the city area, in LA County or whatever. So there's, within the LA area, I could see us sort of working together. We've done this for a long time. So I'm going to play a little matchmaker here, Jennifer, not to put you on the spot. By the way, Jennifer is also the main person helping us with that panel next month. So thank you, Jennifer, for nailing that down. But yeah, and I think she was the one also that completed the Centers of Excellence survey on our behalf too.
Yes, thank you, Walter. Sorry, we're not really accustomed to using Zoom, so I'm not really sure why my camera's not working. But nice to meet all of you. This is, I know Walter's been raving about this group and all the progress you guys have made. I'm relatively new-ish to this space. I actually just got promoted into this workforce development diversity type of role last summer, but I basically run the recruitment team for LADWP. And we are quite unique in that we are part of a very longstanding civil service system, and we're part of a larger city of LA, which is now 44 departments. So our recruitment is not exactly like a direct, pathway into, from school to jobs. So next meeting, I think in June, we're going to kind of talk about some of the programs that we offer. So that'll give us some more insight in terms of like maybe how we fit into some of the things you guys do. I came on here really just for more information because I kind of work in a silo. Or that's how I feel. Yeah. I don't know if this is like a new thing, but I'm like, is anyone out there? Like, I don't even know who to reach out to. So I'm really glad there's a forum for this type, these types of conversations. But the type of stuff we do is really like that awareness piece that you were mentioning, Tiffany, one of the 4 pillars. Like we're just trying to outreach right now. Like, hey, we're here. Yes, our process sucks. It is confusing. It takes forever. Like I even took forever getting this job. So part of it is like, I don't want anyone to have to go through that, right? Because I know some people are like, well, it's the process. This is what everyone does. No, that's not okay. Like I wish, somebody would have helped me through this. It would have just, made my life so much easier. But so part of it is even just explaining to them, like, this is going to take a long time. Like this might take up to 2 years. Such is the reality, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. right?
Yeah.
Like just, it's worth it. But in the meantime, if we can partner with some of you guys, that would be fantastic because we go to a lot of events. I mean, we now have about 100 events that we go to annually. And we have a team of about 3 that just kind of do this. And they're on a circuit. Like we're going to 2 events a week, just trying to get our name out there, trying to explain the process. And a lot of times we're allowed to bring another person, right? Like, hey, we're going to offer 2 seats at this tabling event, and we have a general recruiter that is well versed enough in a lot of the jobs that we offer, but we wouldn't mind partnering with one of you guys as well. A lot of these events are free, so if you are interested, let me know. I have a recruitment calendar we're trying to work on to kind of project the events that we will be going to, and how I've created that was really just start documenting the events we have been going to, right? It's kind of like with budgeting, right? You first have to track your expenses and then you can project your or budget moving forward. So that's kind of what I applied to my recruitment calendar. So I have, basically 2 years worth of events that we've kind of go to. And now in year 3, we're kind of looking like, okay, well, what are some events that we got really, really positive feedback on? Like, oh, we saw a lot of people, or maybe at this event, we didn't meet that many people, but the quality of the applicants were very, very like high quality, right? Or they were maybe 10 people, but they were all very interested in this particular trade or this particular industry. So that's kind of how we're gauging like a successful event, and putting that together. And then I'm slowly trying to work on reaching out to these community colleges that Walter was talking about. So for instance, for these water treatment and water distribution certificates, I'm realizing that there's like 4 or 5 community colleges in the area that offer it. And we have classes, we have job classifications in water treatment and distribution. So I think we're going to one at Bassett Adult School in like a week or 2. So yeah. So yeah, we're like super excited about it. And it's not necessarily in LA City, but it's close enough. And what we found out also in doing a little bit of research is a lot of the employees in the city don't actually live in the city of LA, right? Okay. So I feel like you guys are all veterans, you all know this, but like I'm like, that is shocking to me. But then again, I don't even live in the city of LA, like I'm in Whittier. So it's like, learning all these little things, or breaking down and dispelling these like, longstanding, I guess, stereotypes of a typical water worker, whatever that looks like. Very enlightening to also hear earlier about the marketing. Tiffany, you're absolutely correct. We're trying to do recruitment videos with females. We don't have any in a lot of our classifications, and we have over 150 entry-level positions. And so what we do is we just start where we can. We find the women in the classifications that exist and we start with them. One big event, I don't know if Walter may have mentioned this, we have a women's expo coming up.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that because we did that. We did this whole promotion that Tiffany put the word out last year. May 4th is the Women's Expo at our Truesdale Training Center in Sun Valley, and it's open to everyone. And yeah, that's I'll have to send you the flyer unless Jennifer's one of us. I got the flyer, so we need to get that out to you guys to get that out. But everyone's invited, and that's a whole thing, and it also involved that, and we're including high school women, but also anyone that's interested in our careers, and that's a whole day thing. May 4th. It's like what, 9 to 3 or something like that, Jennifer?
Yeah, it's actually 9. I think it's like 10 to 2, but yes, we will be on site starting at 9. But it's going to be our 2nd annual, and that's part of this whole hands-on activities piece, right? You guys are talking about maybe tool identification or just what would you be doing on the job. So we are actually bringing out 30 different classifications, and we're trying to bring out as many females as we can to represent the job classes. But there's going to be hands-on activities at almost half these booths, and we're going to have females there to talk to people about what it's like to be a female in these job classifications. And for those of you who are part of other agencies, what I'd like to see for our next event next year is maybe having you guys out there as like tabling, right? Like it's not going to cost you anything. We're going to provide the space, plenty of parking. The one thing is it is in the valley, it's a little far, but I promise you it's worth it. We have free food and games for the kids. We're trying to make it super family friendly, understanding that, hey, if it requires you to bring your whole family, like let's do it. Like bring the kids, like bring your relatives, family, neighbor, whoever. And we're trying to bring and have more exposure, like you all mentioned, it's just exposure. Yeah, you're right. People don't know that we have we have 11,000 positions in our department. Like, I don't even know half of these, honestly. And I'm still learning on a daily. So I'm kind of glad that you guys are giving space and honestly grace for those of us who aren't as familiar with this, but the safe space to really share this experience. So yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
And Jennifer, you're also aware of the WEEA brochures in English and Spanish, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
And we
yes. Those are
actually
fantastic.
also Tiffany has them translated. I haven't printed. We printed Spanish, but she's got, what did you, 8 languages you
Yeah, I
translated?
remember.
Total of 9, yes.
Yeah, so she's
It's
gone, you know,
amazing.
it's done a great job. So I'm Jennifer, I'm so glad you were able to join on this and sort of contribute to the meeting today, because, you know, it's sort of an area that covers your area plus mine, you know, to sort of
Mhm.
come down together. And so I'm just glad, you know, that you're doing more in DEI. The DEI has taken more of the lead on the actual job side of things, but
Yeah.
we try to work together on my end, because I look at my, you know, like the sort of I look at mine as sort of long-term recruiting, which is one of been our longstanding goals for 40 years on our education program, is to help the kids learn, you know, get the skills and to learn about careers in general and with us. So we've been doing that a long time, but, you know, Jennifer's actually on the sort of the point, actually doing the, you know, the recruitment for the jobs and also getting the word out about our curriculum. Like you said, and one of our goals at WEEA is people don't know. It's in the water and industry. No one thinks about water and energy as for careers and the good pay. And so that's one of the things that WEEA is all about. And then Tiffany's done a fantastic job about getting the word out, but there's still a lot more work to be done. So I'm just glad Jennifer's, you know, here and able to help, you know, be partner with us on this.
I think what's really cool is every conversation we have, we get jazzed up, and it's always this, there's more work to be done. Like I think there's going to be more work to be done long after everybody on this call has transitioned to a brand new workforce and that brand new work. There's always going to be work to be done. And as long as we're really paying attention to that and being very present, that, you know, we need to help ourselves solve these problems by bringing people like Alexandra in to say, hey, you know, this is one area where we're not doing the best job that we can. Let's start being intentional and making those partnerships, as we've done today, to kind of draw people in to help solve these problems. And Jennifer, welcome. Even though it's been a year, I can tell you that you're not alone. Although a lot of agencies have not made a true commitment to workforce yet, they are, a lot of this work is being driven through the education departments or through the communications departments. There's a lot of other departments that are doing this work. So it may seem like you're alone, but I promise you're not.
Fantastic. Thank you guys for the warm welcome.
Of course. Okay, so we're a little bit late going to break, but we're going to do that now. We're going to take 10 minutes to just kind of stretch and get familiar. We'll see. I know today was a challenging day for a lot of people, so we've had people come in and out of the meeting, but we'll see who we have left, and then we'll break out into breakout rooms and talk about our 4 pillars related to the presentation we heard today and equity for women. Thank you, Alexandra. I'm not sure if you plan on staying, but thank you so much for your guidance and for your expertise in providing this group, you know, practical solutions. Like, these are things we can actually do. And I think that's what we're going to talk about next. So thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure.
All right, guys, 10 minutes. We'll be back at 11:03. We typically would do breakout rooms at this point. And thank you, Jennifer with Tomorrow's Talent and Jen with Water Replenishment District, for offering to host and lead those breakout rooms. I think with 23 participants, what we'll do is just have a discussion and go through some of our prompts together without doing the breakout and see what we can come up with together. I think we had a really robust conversation before break, and we've lost some people since then. So let's give it a try.
I think that's good, Tiffany. A good idea, because it was really helpful, I think, for the whole group to hear everything, the conversation that we all just had.
Great.
So I think good idea. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So our regional discussion then, as a full group, will be considering the presentation and what we're trying to accomplish here today. I'd like us to discuss, you know, she offered 10 to 12 solutions for us, things that we might be able to try to do better in our 4 pillars. So I'd like to discuss viable opportunities to advance awareness, to address diversity, and to develop strategic partnerships. If we need more time, I left skills off for this round because it's a little more technical. However, if there's time and we want to discuss how we can address some of our skills gaps, I'm happy to do that. Okay, I know I can see it. So we don't have 4 breakout rooms. We've only got the 1. Let's talk about learning from our presentation. And I have some examples here on the right-hand side. For your agency, put your agency or your organization, if you happen to be in education or you happen to be a workforce advocate. What are some viable opportunities that we have to advance awareness, particularly to women? What have you heard from this presentation, or what have you considered, or what are you already doing that some other folks may want to adopt or may want to explore? And some of the examples she provided were highlighting those success stories or collaborating with role models, developing outreach and inclusive marketing campaigns, and hosting networking events. I can start by saying I'm really, really proud of those career brochures in 9 languages. I would be willing to commit to making them address women and women's perspectives. We already have them, so we would have the 2 different brochures in the different languages. We would just need really to address the photos and then look for opportunities inside those brochures to maybe address challenges or to address benefits for women joining our workforce. I'd be willing to commit to that if that's something that this group feels they would appreciate. I know those career brochures have been shared. There's more than 100,000 copies across the state. I know our sponsors are using them, and we're happy to print them for them. I just did a batch for, who was it?
Maybe
Well, no, I actually did one for someone who didn't know how to put their logo on it, and that was Santiago Canyon College, right? So put the logo, put their logo on that so that they could do some more specific, intentional marketing to their students. So I thought that was kind of cool. Olivia.
Okay, I think, and I'm going to be very transparent here.
Please.
And honest.
Please.
I've been doing this a long time. So, and I'm an old dog and I'm learning new tricks. And that's, I don't find that offensive at all. It just is what it is. So marketing materials such as brochures are great, but that is not what pulls, that doesn't have the same impact. If we're really trying to reach into high schools, we're trying to reach into people who don't know, everybody is on this short string of what can I see in a 30-second period of time, right? They don't carry paper around anymore. Even if you go to events and try to hand out paper, people don't want paper. I was recently talking with the Port of Long Beach, and one of the things that they do really well, and I think DWP does this as well, is they make these short videos that are very impactful and where you can actually see the reality of whatever it is you're talking, whether it's a job, whether it's a process. Port of Long Beach, actually, what they're doing now when they have opportunities come up, they actually have a session where they have a live person, and whoever can attend, you want to find out about the job, whether you're going to apply or not, here and come, we'll tell you all about the job, what it entails or what the requirements are. Or I think I'm learning that seems to be the better way to go for the work that I'm doing. So I want to just add, I think the marketing brochures are great, but I think we have to, what's out on TikTok? Alex didn't tell you, but I actually chair the board of directors for Winter. So I am very familiar with the work Winter does. And that curriculum that came isn't Alex's curriculum. That curriculum is MC3 curriculum from NAB2, the National Building Trades Council curriculum, right? Winter just does much more robust efforts around outreach and around tracking and supporting the women and removing barriers. But I think we need to kind of help that the thing that's been successful for outreach, we do a lot of TikTok videos over at Winter, right? Things that are going to connect and hit the audiences that we want. And we learn that people don't want the paper as much, they want the short spurt. So I think we send out the paper electronically and follow that up with, here's a link for a great video or something like that. I think that could be something that's a viable opportunity to advance awareness.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I've seen the brochures at conferences, which might be good for industry to pick up and learn. And what I've also heard, the feedback from families, right? So I now have something I can go home and talk to my kids or my grandkids about, so that they're taking that paper with them. I think a combo strategy is brilliant. I love the idea of short videos. And again, we're willing to make them. We just need the people who are doing the jobs, who are willing to say, come on over and film us and share those as a WEEA resource. So, everyone on this call, big agency, small agency, workforce advocate, can use those videos to help us draw in more candidates. Great. Thank you. Benita.
Thank you. And Olivia, I agree with you that the LA DWP career videos are great, and agree with Tiffany that it's really is a multi-pronged approach. I've used the WEEA brochures and it's been a mixed bag. Some of the younger students are like, no thanks, just give us the QR code. And then sometimes there's parents at events that are like, I want this and I'm going to give it to my college student or whatever. So it's multimodal is always good. What I wanted to say is the External Affairs Unit recently met with our new Office of DEI and our HR department, because we didn't really have like something we could hand out at career events. We had a list of careers, but as Olivia said, if you don't even know who we are, that list really means nothing. So we tried to give it a little bit more definitive information of careers that require college or careers that we don't require college or just need a 2-year degree. And it seemed to be very helpful at a West Basin event at El Camino College last month, I believe. But the challenge with public agencies is that we can't hire on the spot, and that is not as sexy as, being next to a Google or a Sony that many times is in a position to hire directly on the spot. But I will not be discouraged. I really like LADWP's event. I think it's their women's organization who's hosting that career event for women. So maybe I'll talk to our women at Metropolitan, which Olivia helped to found, and maybe, we might try to host some type of career outreach event specifically targeted to women. Thank you.
You'll be invited next year to attend ours.
I know you invited me last year, Walter. We're always so jammed, but I know that I'm always welcome at LED. I put it on our calendar to try to see if we can be there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm wondering too, for those who have hosted these type of events, maybe we can, create some sort of guide for those who have never done this before. This is not something that we host community events, but a career event, we usually join somebody else's, but it would be wonderful to maybe collectively decide, what would be very interesting. I'm just going to throw this out there. On International Women's Day, for example, if we were to all agree, we're going to host a career event in our region or our service area,
I love
bigger, small, invite those around us, Metropolitan's got a big LADWP, WRD's got a lot of folks in their service area. Orange County has got 32 providers. San Diego would be, if we were to decide now that next year, this is something that we'd work collectively on, we could put together a committee and determine how we would roll that out and how we would gather partners in our service area. I think that might go a long way.
I love that.
What day is that? What day is that?
So I don't know. International Women's Day next year, 2025.
It's always in March. It's in March.
In March, yeah. Usually
it's during Women's History Month.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I believe
Oh,
it's.
I just wanted to just mention one thing. So we have a series of like 3-minute videos, and last I saw there were like 15 of them. They're adding more, as Jennifer mentioned. But I also mentioned, as Benita knows, because I've reported at our MWD coordinating meetings, we have a contract with this company called Pathful, which is ending in September. And we have recorded on our it's on our website, we have a playlist with 34 presentations over the last 3-4 years, but they're like relatively long. They're like anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes, but we've been narrowing down to one speaker, and basically they talk about their background, their experience, what they do, sometimes advice. And we probably have maybe, I don't know, 12 different disciplines, but we also have I've also tied them to issues like renewables, or what we call local supply sources, recycling, water conservation, groundwater, stuff like that. So we even have an accountant talk, because personal budgeting is a big thing. Anyway, so what I'm saying, our thought is, after this contract is over, our plan is to be able to save some on our website after the contract's over. I'm just saying that's another opportunity, although I don't know if that's too long, 30 minutes, but our intent is to keep some of them and then promote them, for more information besides the 3-minute, because it's like, okay, I want to be, a water utility worker. Well, then maybe we'll have a water utility worker video, and then they can learn more about it from a water utility, what they do. Or we have one on a women electric mechanic. We did stuff like that. So I just wanted to mention that we've, like I said, we actually recorded, I think, on the Pathful library over 40. I just and then we're planning to do some more for Water Awareness Month. Some new ones that we haven't done, we're looking at. So we might have, I don't know, we might actually have 50 by the time we're done, but we would probably only keep maybe, I don't know, 10 or 20 or something like that in perpetuity. But that's another opportunity in terms of looking at stuff.
Great, thank you, Walter. Jen.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention, so in the chat earlier, it was mentioned that WRD, we have a water workforce ad hoc committee, and it's more focused on LA County. So I'm not sure about where everyone on the call is from, but one thing that came out of that committee was Bruce Noble from Rio Hondo College was mentioning that it could be hard for students to navigate their way through the career like college programs, because they're nested in different parent programs at each different college. So in one college you might have something called water technology, in another it might be under like STEM or math and sciences, something like that. And so what we endeavored to create was a cheat sheet that could talk to students about both short-term pathways and medium-term pathways into the water industry. So short-term pathway example would be just taking one course that allows you to go take one exam from the state water or state board, and then be able to apply for an internship at, say, even one of our facilities. And then medium term would be, maybe you could go get a water certificate, be eligible for multiple exams, and then, you're just kind of better positioned for, to get an entry level position at with an employer. So I think that's just something I wanted to offer as the awareness piece. And we're really lucky that we do have a success story with an intern, a female intern, who moved up over the years and is now, like a chief plant operator with Perk Water. That's the group that operates our facilities. So she's not with a WRD facility, but rather in Santa Monica at their new advanced water treatment facility. So we have a nice success story to be able to share, and kind of the images that go along with that. I think we could make more of that, and maybe do a more in-depth interview with that operator and get her story really, concrete, and get all the supporting elements to that. So I think that's a great idea. And then, but to get this awareness through that lens of gender equity, this call has really made me think. Because for me, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we went into all of those 8 mission critical programs like electrician, machinist, all of those. And if we could advertise, hey, we're from the water industry, like think of us as, you know, you're in your umbrella of choices. But now with Tiffany's stat right at the top of the call saying like, oh, well, you're reaching then a 96% male audience, you know, so that really makes us, you know, think about how to branch out and get to those different audiences. So thank you for that. And yeah, so I don't have things to offer, but just thank you for, you know, sparking that thought
Is the
that
cheat sheet
that needs
done?
to be addressed.
Is the cheat sheet
No,
done?
it's not done. So basically I almost have my draft done and I'm ready to send it to our graphics folks. So I'm hoping that that's the next step. I just need to kind of finalize a few numbers and pieces of information from the colleges that have contributed to it. And then of course, you know, like not every college in our region is represented on it. So I need to find a way of, you know, this would be posted to our website so that students could find all of that information, you know, for every college, because you can't fit it all on one fact sheet. So, but yeah, so I'm hoping that would be one of my positive announcements in a following roundtable.
Yeah.
Would be to distribute those to the group.
Yeah.
It's a good, every time I've gone to the meeting, it's a learning experience. Unfortunately, the last 2 meetings I've had schedule conflicts, or I wound up in a phone call. I was doing a survey on safety or something like that, and I was winding up talking to Riverside, and then I realized I missed half the meeting, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But every time I attend your meeting, I feel like I'm getting like, you know, training. Oh, like Tiffany also this me. But those are really good, you know, and I think like someone like Bruce Noble would be a great help to Jennifer. Because she's
Yes.
doing outreach at or this cheat sheet, because she's doing some outreach to the colleges, but then we don't know where these are embedded. So if we know exactly where the water technology or the energy stuff is, you know, where that training is, and I think, yeah, Benita's shaking her head, it would help us to target where we go, to know where we can, you know, where we're in the right, you know, curriculum in the college area.
Yeah, I love your cheat sheets. I think they're awesome. I think that a lot of other regions could utilize something like that to help them. It's just focus, right? Like there's a lot of great ideas, but when you focus on something that's concrete that you can share with others, everything gets diverted into finalizing that and having something that's really valuable. And Jen, you've done an amazing group with your workforce committee. I love being a part of it. One of the success stories from them, somebody had mentioned Bassett Adult School. And it was just a random poor guy who was a teacher at Bassett Adult School. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to contact. And now they are part of a larger community that are working together to create these career pathways and to, you know, address the 4 pillars. So thank you for inviting him in the group, but we all also, you know, considered that if we're having these great discussions in WEEA and you think somebody might be able to benefit from some of that, invite them. If you're in the LA area, Jennifer's new, Walter, I don't know if Jennifer goes to Jen's workforce committee meeting, but what a great group of people.
Not yet, but I will try to. Jen, can you send me another like announcement the next meeting, and then I'll forward it to her too, so she's aware of it. Like I said, she's spread really thin and is missing staff. I mean, she's short of staff, but that's another meeting for them to consider. You know, it's in her area. It's just, you know, there's only so many you can go to. So I've been trying on my end, but yeah.
I tell you what, if there's a couple to pick, I would pick Jen's meeting for sure if I was in LA. Because it's focused.
Tiffany. Love it.
Yeah, and you know, it's focused. It's focused on this LA community. These are the people who provide the training. These are the people who have the jobs, and we can talk as a collaborative and get like our ideas together and to make those connections. But the work, you know, we had talked about this way early with WEEA is creating those regional advisories. And Jen, you've done it, and we're working on doing something similar in Orange County. We just got together to support a grant from one of our community colleges, and in some instances, some of these providers had not even really considered workforce, but now they're writing letters for their community college to get support for grants. So making those connections is just super important. Nick.
Yes, sorry that I'm not in the video, but I'm Nicholas Dibbs, a CTE teacher, former DWR water education and tour coordinator. for the State Water Project, and I am also a credentialed teacher in science. Okay, two things for outreach that I have to outreach to reach more women would be tabling at high schools. So have water districts just go to high schools and set up a table at lunchtime and have some events at the high schools and maybe even middle schools. And the other thing is tours. All of our water agencies offer wonderful education tours. One of the hangups is the bus transportation. So if the school district cannot provide bus transportation, then if the water agency or district can provide bus transportation or facilitate that, that would be great. So having more tours as far as getting these classes over to the water facilities. And I do want to mention on the LA or Port of Long Beach, somebody mentioned that the lady who runs that public affairs program used to work for Orange County Water District. So there may be some collaborative things that could be done with the port of LA or Long Beach. I forget it. I think she's with the Port of Long Beach. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Great, thank you, Nick. One other thing that I got from this presentation today that we haven't talked about, because it's one of those and thank you for the guys that have stayed on this call. I know it sounds crazy, but if you take a look at who's left over, we got a lot of women on the call, which is great, because we're ready to and willing to solve this problem, but we appreciate it. It can sometimes maybe not be a comfortable conversation if it's not something that you're familiar with. What our challenges are, I've been married 25 years, and it still surprises me that my husband is like, "What? You don't have any challenges?" I'm like, "Bro, every day." Every day. So it can be challenging when it's not something that you're familiar with, but we appreciate you being on the call. So one of the things that also came out of this that we don't talk about a lot is addressing stereotypes, challenging and dispelling stereotypes associated with gender roles, showcase the diverse skills required for success, and that they're not limited by gender. So she had talked about, showcasing tools, but is there a way that we can also illuminate, what these skills are skills that you have too. It may not be something that you were raised with, but these are quality jobs. You can have a very fulfilling life with these jobs that support success. And what does that look like, right? What are some of the things that maybe these jobs require that you may not think that you have? And I'm going to say that not just for those skilled technical roles, but I can tell you my background it wasn't communications. Initially, it was customer service. And it's still my foundation, because I truly believe that customer service is a skill and it's a gift, and we should be giving it to each other. We should be supporting each other in that way. But then I went to finance. I mean, I really just didn't know what I wanted to do, because every job that someone said, this is available, I just didn't think I could. I don't know why. Young people, we don't know, again, what Olivia said, we don't know what we don't know. So, addressing maybe some of those stereotypes.
So I'm not sure if you all are familiar with the Department of Labor, and they've been doing a lot of work around this. And they're actually finding a lot of issues around organizations and schools that are still steering. And what I mean by that, that's what it's called, a steering, is we take those stereotypes and we proliferate them, right? And I find that sometimes in our own organizations, we do the same thing. I was working with so I think we need to have some awareness around that whole issue of steering. Are we steering girls to certain types, even within our organizations, right? Even within our, and the schools are still, kind of grappling with that whole issue. And the Department of Labor has has gotten filed a lot of lawsuits around companies that they find are steering people into certain jobs over another. So I think some awareness around that kind of whole issue of steering, I think it's really important, because even in my organization today, I can talk with somebody and I don't think they recognize what they're doing. I think it's unintentional, but it's has an impact at the end of the day. So I don't know that we talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, but we don't really talk a lot about steering, and that's a specific part of the conversation. I think that's left out sometimes.
I love that you say that. I can tell you that as a hiring manager, we promote for specific jobs, and we actually have an intern job now. And it's surprising, I'm thinking we're going to get this diverse pool because, this is something that we care about, and we're reaching out to the, to proper groups, and we're still getting the same candidates, primarily girls, which is fine. I love my girls, but why are there more women in these roles versus others? And I think you're absolutely right when it comes to steering. I think, a lot of that happens, it can happen at home, and it can also happen in the educational institution. So I think that's something that maybe we should put a little more focus on and find a solution for that, right? Because again, Olivia, you've mentioned we talk about it, or actually we haven't talked about this, but let's start thinking about some solutions for that, because that's a real problem.
Yeah, and so just kind of to piggyback, you brought something else up, and that happened last week so I was talking at that design build competition I was at with some of my partnering, the high schools I partner with, and was talking to one student. He's graduating this year. He happens to be Hispanic Latino. And I was asking him, so what do you know? And he's getting ready to sign on to one of the building trades. And we were talking about that, and he was explaining to me, and his parents are immigrants. They came to the United States for him not to work hard. And I actually think, because we are losing people in the construction industry, the people that actually do the work, not the people that design, but the people that do the work, we're losing them, and they're all aging out, and we don't have a workforce to build the bridges or the infrastructure or the facilities that all of us need to have. We are not going to have them. So that's why I think it's such an important topic. But he was explaining the conversation he had to have with his mother, who did not want him to go into a trade. She felt that they came to this country for him to get a better life, that this wasn't going to be it. And he had to work hard to explain to her, I will leave without debt. I will be making at the age of 25, when I become a journey worker, the money that my folks that are on the college career path will not be making until they're 32 or 33. I mean, he really had to convince her. So I think the messaging goes not into the schools, and not just, it goes into the homes, because the parents have a thought process. And I think we used to look down at people who actually did more of the working with their hands as opposed to an education. So again, that's another part of this whole steering thing that comes into play, especially for these communities where they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Any other thoughts on viable opportunities to address awareness? Any other ideas?
Hi, good morning. My name is Alicia with Valsitos Water District, and one of the things, I don't know how much time I have, but one of the things that we did is we connected with Jacob Sheba, the professor for water technology at Palomar College. And I don't know if a lot of you are familiar, but it was very helpful having the connection of the professor to get in touch with the students. So that was a really key help for us to create an internal video and then to get testimonials from our interns. So we found that very helpful, is to get in touch with the professor, and then he connects us with the students. And so again, that target audience, you're getting that target, outreach that you want. And so we were able to put together a video with the, which is what the professor wanted originally. They just did a general video about their internship program, but then they wanted us, we have an in-house video program. They want us to do the testimonial from the students, and then also a testimonial from the professor explaining the program. So we have that actually being published today. And we also have a regional water platform through the San Diego County Water Authority that has been so helpful for us, because they reach a regional audience down in San Diego, and it's called the Water News Network. And we have been so grateful, where a lot of our programs have been advertised through that platform. And so that one's going to be published today, and I can send a link to everybody just so they can see how we connect everyone. And then we're going to do some testimonials with our interns. And again, we had a female African-American girl that we wanted to participate in the video, but she was a little shy, so we couldn't get her to participate. But we did have that diversity in that video, but we do have photos of her in action. So we didn't get the testimonial, but we did have an action. But the professor really tried really hard to try to, tell the benefits to the students of what doing like this. And then the student can use this as a hero file for them if they want to go to other. Here's a video that I did with Valsitos Water District. So I will share that with you. We have a social media person, and then we have the Water Authority publishing that today. So I don't know if anybody from the Water Authority is on the line here, but we're so grateful for them and that platform, that news platform for the regional effort. But yeah, the professors were so helpful for us.
Alicia, thank you for that, because that's not something even I had considered before. And Jen Swart, kind of think about that while you have your professors on your workforce call, right? If we're going to do videos, maybe we can get their testimonials. And thinking about Orange County, we have some professors who are very active in WEEA and can get discouraged, but once they get sparked, they're all in. And I think that's an excellent idea, bringing the professors in to help tell that story. And they're also the guys who are teaching these classes. Sharing that with their students and having that personal connection probably goes a long way.
Yeah, the professors have such a passion, and the professor at Palomar, he was actually worked in the water and wastewater field, so he has that passion for, to help the students and see them succeed.
I love it. Yes, please do share the link when you get a chance.
I will. Is it best? Do you know who the best to share?
Yeah, send it to me.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you for sharing. That's a great tip.
Thank you.
Anyone else for diversity awareness before we move on? Lots of great ideas stemming from this call today. So thank you for actively participating. All right, let's discuss viable opportunities to address diversity. How are we diversifying our recruitment efforts? How are we ensuring that our current employees are getting the most out of their employment opportunity? Does anyone have anything to share about what they're currently doing? And then we can kind of jump into what's possible, because at this point, anything's possible.
I guess I can jump in and share. I would guess I would just share that WRD had over the last 2 years, I would say, or maybe at least for 2 years, has been implementing an internal DEI program. So spearheaded by, our admin department. We brought in like a full-time employee dedicated to steering this internal DEI program. I think it's been really successful. There's been like lots of trainings that we've done as a group and as a company. And then I know, and I do think that we have seen a shift in our work culture at WRD because of that. And I think, a positive shift. And then I know that just for capacity, like they were starting internally, like there was a lot of work to be done internally. And then I know that as this program, expands or continues to grow, the hope is to now start to focus onto like our like procurement and hiring practices, like to start to shift towards the more external interactions that we have. So making sure that our procurement process is really diverse, but also the hiring. So I think like they haven't done that shift yet, but I can just speak to the notion that, having that internal piece where the workforce can, or where the workplace can feel more inclusive. Like I think we can feel a lot more confident about our new hires. Like I get jealous of our new hires, like, oh, you guys are coming into a good spot, and but so that could be great for retention, right? So now we are a great place to recruit to, but sometimes you might have to do that internal work first so that you can become a great place to work and that people will want to stay and participate. So that's all we got.
That's all you got. That is excellent. That is so inspiring, truly. I think, when we did our workforce report, and I'm gonna have to get this exact number for you, but I think it was when we asked how many organizations across the state, 545 water providers were interviewed or were surveyed, and then we had 20 community colleges. How important is diversity? Oh, everybody, it's a very important. DEI, very important. How many of you have something in place to address this internally? And I believe the percentage was either 36 or 40 something percent, 21%. I don't know, which means no. So addressing DE&I issues internally it's an excellent way to start, and I applaud WRD for doing that. Benita.
Thank you. About 7 or 8 years ago, I used to be on our board of the Black Employees Association, and one of the things we launched was a partnership with our engineering department for diversity, to work more with HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. And I think we brought in about 4 African-American engineers, but they subsequently all left, despite the wonderful salaries and benefits. And so I think Alexandra, our guest speaker, really hit the nail on the head, that it is critical to that the agency, when they're doing these kinds of culture shifts, that they've got to do a lot of scaffolding to make sure that the person kind of feels welcome, feels a part of the team, feels a part of the larger community. So I don't know what the status of the program is now, because I'm not on the board anymore, but I was very proud of that program, and I think there's still some remnants of it, but I don't know how viable it is right now. But I thought it was a great effort to, yeah.
Yeah, and I think also you nailed it on the head when you're talking about affinity groups, right?
Yes.
Who knows a culture best, who can create a welcoming environment. Again, to Olivia's point, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
Even with our best intentions.
And with our best intentions, yeah.
With our heart in the right place and our,
Right.
our feet pointed forward, we still may not get it right, because
Right.
these are not our experiences.
Right.
So affinity groups is an excellent contribution.
I agree.
Yeah. So inclusive, and we do have Olivia. I know, Olivia, aren't you in human resources? Or no, did you move?
Sorry, I'm working with 3 screens. I'm trying to get the mouse to unmute. I apologize. So I was actually, my role has always been equal employment opportunity. That is why I was so heavily involved in running stats and looking at where our soft spots were, and really understanding the workforce and the outreach activities. And then recently, in the last year, I've been moved as the program manager over our outreach related to our project labor agreement, which is billions and billions of dollars worth of work upcoming in the next 5 years and beyond. So it's, my focus has been there. But all of this is just, for me, this is work I've done my whole career. And so I've learned a lot. I failed a lot, and I've have some successes. So the more failures you have, you find those successes, because you figure out what the secret sauce is. And that I think is a lesson for all of us. Every organization is unique. I mean, yes, we do similar things, but the culture we have in our organization, our setup in our organization, the support we get from upper management, the support even for staff to be able to help us do the work we're doing is different. So we have to figure out what the secret sauce is for our agency. Benita, I don't know if she shared or not, but our agency has had a bit of a turmoil time, and it's, been under the spotlight a lot, and things aren't perfect here, and there's lessons that we're learning. And I'm not afraid to say that I actually pay, my city is a member agency of Metropolitan as well. So my personal tax dollars are like, well, how are we spending our money that I'm paying for the water for, right? All of this is related. And so I think we have to look at that. And I just think this forum is so important. And
Yes.
the collaboration, I think what I keep, whenever time I re-engage in this, because I get pulled in a lot of different directions, is that we need to figure out a way to collaborate more so that the limited amount of time and energy we have or resources we are given, we have to make those stretch, because sometimes our organizations don't understand. They're focused on moving the water or getting the mission of the organization done, but without people to make that happen, nothing is happening. And the culture has to exist for people to want to stay. We're dealing with a workforce coming in that they're all saying, do I really have to come into the office? Why can't I just work from home? And in some cases, yeah, that's possible. In other cases, it's not possible, right? When the pandemic hit, all of our agencies stayed up and running. We were essential workers who
Right.
wanted to be at home without running water or electricity. So I think there's just so many things we're kind of missing the mark on, but I think I'm excited every time I come. I get re-energized. I get frustrated and then I get re-energized coming to this group. So thank you all. I was having a bad day yesterday. I'm actually feeling a little better today. So if nothing else, the meeting was just for me.
Good.
But
Great.
I think we have
Yeah.
to figure out our secret sauce. What is our secret sauce for our entity? And I would love to, I don't have a list. I know Benita may have some for education but where is the list of the core people for those that are involved in this group? So I can reach out and say, okay, Tiffany, I understand you're doing this. I'd like to share more, but I just don't know who to share with. And
Yeah.
I just want that opportunity because I won't be doing this forever. And so I want whatever our inroads are to continue to be inroads. So we're not going backward, going 2 steps forward, taking 3 steps back. We need to keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, how do we make that happen is what I'm all about.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm so glad that you're energized by these meetings. I think that's what's different about this workforce group. Because I'm part of several, and there is the technical part, which is perfect. There are the discussions that are very specific to building the clear pathways, which are great. This group is different, and I think I'm really proud of this group because we've created a space where you can share your opinions and share your insight and share your experiences and help others understand from what you've gone through. That we have consistent challenges. I think, I don't know, maybe get with Benita, since you're from the same organization, and come up with a structure for reaching out internally to identify who those people are and what your needs are, because what you're looking for may be an easy fix through a colleague. I find that so it's very similar to the Bassett person who's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, have I got someone for you? So it may just be, connecting with some of your folks internally and getting the connection externally, or keep coming to our meetings.
Right.
You're such a wealth of knowledge, and I love it when you share because we all learn from that.
And I know Nick has a question, but I just wanted to say, many times at the member agencies, the education coordinator is also the conservation coordinator. They're also the ledge rep. So there's still may be some intersection of some of those names, if I can help in any way.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks, Benita. Nick.
Yes, Tiffany, Olivia, you just mentioned you'd like to have an opportunity to reach out on a list, and I understand that we're not doing that anymore. So if those who want to get on a list, I guess they're supposed to add their contact name and information into the chat, and then the chat gets shared, and then we can share and collaborate that way. So just a kind of reminder, people add their contact information into the chat, so then we can share with each other. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, we have a few minutes left, so let's go ahead and talk about viable partnership opportunities and what partnerships look like. How comfortable is everyone comfortable reaching out and forming partnerships, or do you have people at your organization who are comfortable doing that? Would that be something you'd want to learn more about?
Yes.
And anybody else, you guys comfortable or? Okay,
I've been
let
doing
me,
that. I've been doing that with C for 35 years.
there you go, there you go. Jen,
I was just gonna throw out that I think sometimes just resource allocation, like staff time. And committing to another partnership. Like you want, like it's like this partnership is great. I love it. I love the idea. I love what we can do together. And then it's just like it's just adding
yeah,
more pieces. So I think like that can oftentimes be a limiting factor. Is it just feels like, okay, because then you're like committed to,
oh yeah,
advancing something with somebody. And yeah, so
yeah.
I think that can sometimes feel like an obstacle.
That is an excellent point. I think when people consider partnerships, they think it's just, maybe you connect on one thing and then you do this event and then you walk away. But if you want to do partnerships successfully, it's a lot of work. And there are, some really challenging steps. You kind of have to be all in. And when you do, I think all of us are in the same spot where we're like, I can't do another thing. My team can't do another thing. So how do we convince our leadership that we need more resources for this effort? I think that would be helpful if it wasn't our water use efficiency people and our communications people and our HR people all doing workforce development. If we could have somebody whose focus was workforce development, that would probably be very helpful. So maybe we'll ask this question again when we have, some more board members perhaps in the room that we can see how we can advance that.
But that actually brings up a good point too, Tiffany, of like partnerships just within your own agency, because I feel like I'm also determining that another limiting factor to progress in this work is that you need so many different people from your agency at the table. You need the HR, you need the public affairs, you need the operations, like and to get that buy-in from all of those people to attend. They're like, oh, well, one person's attending, that's good enough, you'll be our rep there, right? And it's like, yeah, but you're gonna hear this information under a totally different lens that I can't translate for you into that lens that you would want to hear this information through. So I think that's another challenge, is just getting the buy-in from like I would love it if our HR people were sitting on this call as well.
Yes.
And our operations, and so that's that's
Yeah.
a goal. But that's one that's even so like partnerships even within our agency is
Yeah.
a huge thing too.
Yeah, and I think, we have fallen into this work, however, we've managed to get here. But like speaking to HR, they're key holders. They got the gate, and there's a lot of work that we need to do collaboratively where we need them at the table. So considering that, I know one of Alexandra's recommendations was stakeholder mapping. And so I don't know how many people do mapping here when you're connecting resources or making the connections to people. But if that would be also something helpful, we do stakeholder mapping a lot, and we can maybe create a list of ways that you might consider moving some of your efforts and bringing in partners that you may not have ever considered, right? I mean, we get that a lot when we unveil a project, and it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It is very hard work, but once you do it, how did you bring them to I wouldn't have imagined that they would be the person, and it's about relationships, right? And if you can build that stakeholder map and start making those relationships, take your HR person to lunch or have a discussion, with another group in your organization who you need at the table, and maybe we can understand what they need from a group like this, right? Because we've got a mixed bag, and I think we've got a really good handle on some people, but what are the HR people need from a group like this? Maybe there's something important for them that we're not providing, or that they're not, we just don't have enough time, or, maybe if there was a presentation focused on our work, maybe there needs to be a WEEA subgroup sometimes that is HR. I don't know. And then we can pull them into the conversation because we're offering something that they need.
I like that idea for sure.
Okay. All right, we only have about 6 minutes left. Anybody have any other ideas about partnership opportunities?
Oh, Tiffany, Jennifer put the link to the flyer for the Women's Expo in the chat.
Cool. Thank you for that, Jennifer. I appreciate that.
She's gone, but yeah,
Oh.
I just noticed it.
And she probably won't be back to hear this whole meeting, I'm sure.
Well, I don't know. I mean, her time is really, thing, and I did share her information with Jen Swart, but like I said, I don't know. I mean, she's spread real thin, although, like I said, this does relate to what she does as well as what Jen's committee does.
Yeah.
But everyone's time is so limited. I had to switch a meeting with my boss for this. I
Yeah.
switched to meet. She wanted to meet now, and I said I got this, and so I'm meeting with her later. But that's stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, Walter, I get it. I get it. I love to see, our register. Sometimes people register for this meeting just so they can watch the recording at the end because they
Yeah.
can't attend. I've had somebody say, oh, well, unless it's about this specific topic, I'm not able to attend. But I'm interested. So can we have the video at the end? And so we always provide that. I get it. And I still feel the same way. Any step forward is a step forward. So participate where you can, join us where you can, collaborate where you can. I don't think there's a right or wrong for this. I think we just keep trying until we can find those areas of focus, like the water, careers cheat sheet or the water brochures, wherever we can find those areas of focus where we can actually finish something and have a product to share with others. I think that's the direction we need to keep moving in. Oh. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna end it 4 minutes early, or probably 3 by the time I'm done talking, and let y'all go back to your lives. But thank you so much for such a rich conversation. I really love hosting these meetings, and really love engaging with this group. Thank you for being honest, because that's what we're gonna need if we want to solve these problems together. We got to drop some of the stuff about, oh, they won't agree with me, or they don't. They won't see it from my perspective. All perspectives need to be considered, because we're getting ready to be in real trouble with our workforce unless we're putting some effort behind it. So I've put a image with a QR code to the workforce campaign that I had talked about at the top of the meeting. So you're going to have that. But thank you, LADWP, who will be our next presenter on June 18th. We really hope that you can come. We're going to have a registration link for you, and we're going to have a flyer so you can start sharing with your network. And again, if there's anybody that you think might benefit from these conversations, particularly the ones that we had now, please invite them. They don't have to stay for the whole meeting if they can't, even if they register and they're like, I promise I'll watch the meeting later, but I'm not able to attend. We're okay with that. We're okay with that. So final shout out to our 2023-24 WEEA sponsors: Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, Eastern Municipal Water District, Tomorrow's Talent Water Replenishment District, Western Municipal Water District, California Community Colleges, and CEEF. You guys make this possible. Thank you for your support. And thank you to everybody who participated today. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Tiffany and team.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Meeting you guys. Thanks. Bye.